So it's not that the goal is happiness. The goal is helping make your customers successful by achieving their goals. And if they do that and see an ROI, they will in turn be happy.
Hi everyone. It's another episode of our SaaS and Tech interviews. And today our guest is Kristi Faltorusso. Hi Kristi, thank you very much for being with us. It's absolute pleasure to have you. How are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I am so thrilled to be here today and really looking forward to our conversation.
Same here. Thank you for joining. For the beginning, I will just make a short intro for those who maybe haven't heard about Kristi. Kristi is an absolute star when it comes to customer success management. You are, if I remember correct, you were in the top 25 customer success influencers for last 3 years. You are the founder of your company called Keep Customer Success Simple, and you help so many organizations, especially B2B SaaS companies. So Kristi, wow, that's very amazing. That's super impressive looking on your career path. Could you please tell a couple of words of what you're doing? Who are the companies that you're serving?
Absolutely. Well, I've had the immense pleasure of spending the past decade in customer success leadership capacities, usually in B2B hyper-growth SaaS companies where I am building, scaling, or transforming customer success organizations. So maybe that's building a CS team from scratch, transitioning a team of account managers to customer success, or getting to a point where we're scaling all of our initiatives. So have had the pleasure of doing this at 5 different companies. Client Success is the most current one where I am today. We're a customer success management solution. So actually our software helps other customer success teams have the same success. So really thrilled to have the opportunity to work with so many fantastic brands and businesses and helping their customers achieve their outcomes.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much. Before I start, I've heard very interesting fact about yourself is that you wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning. Like, why on earth? Somebody tell me please, what is the secret of waking up so early?
Oh gosh, well, there's definitely the secret to waking up early is going to bed early. That is the secret. But no, my husband and I were both really big fitness enthusiasts. We both take our mental, physical health very seriously, and so we both prioritize working out. We have a 15-year-old daughter, and my husband works in Manhattan. We're located in New York. So in order for us to both find time to work out, I work out in the mornings. So I go to the gym I take a 5 a.m. class every day, and then he works out in the evenings. So this way we're both able to be available for our daughter and spend family time together, but where we both get our workouts in. So for me, I got the morning shift, but that's okay. I love it. It's like, in the morning, you never have an excuse, right? There's nothing stopping you from getting your workout in. If I had to work out at the end of the day, I'm tired, I'm busy, I'm hungry. Like, I could literally list off a whole bunch of things that would be prohibitive. So for me, it's like, I get it out of the way super early. It's a great way to start my day.
Jeez. Well, you know what, speaking frankly, no matter what you say on our interview, this is going to be the most impressive thing about you. Well, that's for me something really amazing. So please tell me, some companies are really obsessed with the customer happiness. They teach their managers to make customer happy. But so does happiness equals or not equals to customer success? And please tell me, when in this equation we add our own business goals, probably it's obviously sometimes not easy to make customer happy, especially when you have to make some profit or etc. So where is the balance between making customers happy, if that has anything to do with the customer success, and achieving your business goals?
This is a great one. So there are still a ton of companies out there that are fixated on happiness as a barometer of success. And it's not that there isn't a correlation there. Let me explain. So it's not that the goal is happiness. The goal is helping make your customers successful by achieving their goals. And if they do that and see an ROI, they will in turn be happy. So there's this idea of happiness, right, where it's not being measured or quantified through the lens of ROI. And I think if you kind of flip it around, you can say happiness, because if they're successful, they'll be happy. But most companies aren't thinking it that way, right? They're thinking about it from a relationship standpoint. Oh, well, Bob over at XYZ Software really likes us and he's really happy. But if Bob's not successful and if Bob's company is not successful, it doesn't matter how happy he is, he's not going to stay. They are not going to stay. So from a business standpoint, happiness is okay. You want people to enjoy working with you. You want them to have a delightful experience,
right.
But that is not the primary focus. That is not the objective. If your companies and your customers are not leaving the partnership, right, or at the end of their subscription, not leaving, having achieved their goals, right, the business objectives that they came into the partnership seeking to achieve, then they're not successful. Therefore, they cannot be happy. And it doesn't matter what kind of relationships you build. So I think it's just how people are thinking of the term happiness. Like I said, for me, yes, I would be thrilled if I achieved all of the ROI that I needed to from everything that I purchased. And so you could probably get there, but the maniacal focus needs to be on the outcomes, not on the happiness.
I see. So happiness not necessarily has to be there, but if we help our customers to get their goals, it will come.
Correct. Yeah.
Cool. You already started speaking a little bit about measuring this happiness and how it's like pretty much difficult. Could you please let us know how is it possible to measure, maybe not happiness, but emotional side of customer satisfaction, of customer success?
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's a tough one because I feel like it's difficult to fully capture it because not everyone is willing to share that information, right? Like not everyone, you can send all the surveys out in the world. You might not have 100% completion rate from those. So listen, I think that there's a couple ways that you can start to collect feedback. Any voice of customer program, and so a VOC program where you are either soliciting information via survey, right? Trying to capture customers at different points in their life cycle with your brand, your business. Could be that you're having one-on-one conversations. For example, my CSMs do a great job of not only capturing the health of the partnership through the lens of success, but also capturing what we say is the pulse of the relationship, which is more of a satisfaction barometer, right? Like how is the customer feeling about the partnership and the outcomes that they're driving towards? So that could be another way to capture that. I would say that my favorite way to, I guess, understand if my customers are truly satisfied is through advocacy programs, though. If your customers are willing to stand at the top of a mountain and scream how much they love you and how much they love your business and how everyone should have it, like, tell me a better way to measure that they have been satisfied at all levels, right? They are saying that working with you has checked all their boxes, right? They are getting value. They love the partnership. They love the product. They love the business, the brand. So for me, the biggest one is advocacy. If you've won somebody over so much so that they're going to go and tell their friends and their peers and their colleagues that you are it, I don't know. That's my number one benchmark.
And moving forward, in one of your interviews, you mentioned that employee success equals customer success. So let's speak more about this part, employee success. I can assume that when you arrive in the company, in a new organization, some changes are happening there. And CSMs, they are, as every human being, not really likely to change anything in your behavior. People don't like changes. People try to do everything to keep things the same as they are now. So please tell me, how do you deal with that resistance? Because obviously you need to do something. How do you deal with the fact that employees normally like to stick to their habits?
I mean, this is a big one, right? Because every leader is going to come into an organization and kind of wants to put their branding on things, right? They want to make some changes. They want to make it their own. They want to feel like they're having an impact. And I will tell you, the number one mistake that I've ever made as a leader is coming into an organization hot and I'm trying to make changes right away, right? Like, oh, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to move these people and hire new people. You're right. Change makes people uncomfortable. The unknowns make people uncomfortable. And when you have a new leader who hasn't yet established trust and built relationships with employees and helped educate and communicate what their focus is, what their priorities are, how they're going to go about driving change, it leaves discomfort and ambiguity that allows these employees to create their own narrative, right? Like, oh gosh, she wants to make all these changes. I know for a fact I'm going to get fired, right? So now you've got anxiety, you've got tension, all of these emotions running wild. So I will tell you now, when I come into an organization, the last thing I do is try to make change. I come in and I learn, I listen, I observe. I spend time connecting with people and understanding how they view my role as an asset and benefit to complement the work they're doing. Because at the end of the day, we're all working alongside each other to achieve the same business objectives, right? Like we have one business goal, we're all doing our part to help achieve that. So I've now spent more time nurturing relationships, building those out, establishing trust and credibility, right? And so allowing my employees to feel like they're supported by who I am and what I'm going to do. And then on top of that is managing communications, right? I never want anyone to not be in the know and have the anxiety of that unknown. I think that is what creates so much friction, and it's unnecessary, right? People quit because they don't know, they're not clear on what you're doing. And that anxiety, right, it drives them away. So for me, I'm really big on communication early and often, right? Let people know what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, bring them into the process, right? If you've got some known high performers, this is my favorite thing to do. If, you've gotten feedback from other people in the organization that say, Mary, Ben, and Kathy, like they're top performers, great. I'm bringing them into the fold and allowing them behind the scenes to see what I'm doing and getting their opinion. Right? They've been here longer. They've got more visibility. Maybe they know things that are broken or not working, and like we could do this together. Bringing them along for the ride helps establish a relationship there, that trust. It's empowering. And those are all the things that if you could do those well as a leader, right, you're developing really strong employees. And their happiness will translate to doing really great work for your customers. And so that's why there is this direct correlation between employee success and customer success. Because employees that feel rewarded, appreciated, heard, they are trained, enabled, they're supported, they feel safe, they're going to do the best work they can. And their best work is going to help your customers be wildly successful.
Wow. You're not using simple solutions, aren't you? So you're putting, it's interesting thing that you've mentioned, that you're putting yourself into in a vulnerable situation when you also open up for for feedback. You expose yourself as like one of them. You become their team members. They're like part of their team, and that's really amazing.
I mean, listen, that's my leadership approach, but that's not everyone's, right? Yeah. So I'm a servant leader. I believe that my role exists only to support my team to do their work really well. Like my job exists to empower and enable them to be successful at what they were hired to do. Mm-hmm. So if I can do all the things I just mentioned, that's me doing that so they can go and execute.
Great. We will come back to that. I found it very interesting what you said, this notion, servant leadership. Before that, on many podcasts, you've been asked for providing 1, 2, 3 steps, or what are the most important things to do. Let's start our conversation. Let's continue our conversation a little bit on the other side, what not to do, because obviously every company would like to be customer-centric, but most of the companies, in fact, fail to be customer-centric. So could you please tell most common mistakes that companies make when it comes to customer success?
I would say the number one thing that companies do wrong almost all the time is they design their programs inside out. They're not taking their customers into consideration and what their customers need and what they want and how they need it and how they want it. It's designed internally based on their own systems and processes and their own understanding of what they think the customers need and what they think the customers want. And by designing a life cycle or a customer journey and executing it that way, you're failing to meet your customers where they are. And so my first thing that I always do is go interview your customers, learn who they are, what they want, how they're going to be successful. Why are they even customers? Why are they still customers? And take those learnings to design it, right? So flip it on its head, and instead of designing a program inside out, design it outside in. Design it for your customers, with your customers in mind, and quite frankly, design it with them, literally with them. You'll have a lot more success that way. So that would be the first thing I see companies do all the time, almost always wrong, right? It's a lot of box checking internal stuff. Second thing companies do wrong is that they go out there and they preach they are customer centric, but they don't behave like customer centric organizations. So poor communication, unrealistic goals, the expectations that a customer success team is responsible for delivering success as an outcome. It is a company-wide objective, right? My customers cannot be successful on the backs of CSMs alone. It requires good product, good marketing, good support, good payment processes, right? Like all of the things that impact your customers expand well beyond your customer success organization. We are a conduit to achieving outcomes, but we are not the team responsible for that, right? We help ensure that it could be a reality. So companies fail when they talk about being customer centric, but then rely solely on the execution of that on the backs of customer success teams. The third thing I will say, chasing lagging indicators, right? People want retention. They want high NRR, low churn, big logo retention, right? All these things, those are great. Those are lagging indicators though. Companies don't allow teams to focus upstream on the leading indicators to help ensure that customers are going to be successful. When you put too much emphasis on those lagging indicators, you are on a hamster wheel. You're maniacally focused on these things that you cannot change because the change needs to happen upstream. So companies that are not focused on leading indicators are inevitably going to fail, right? They're not going to be able to actually fix the problem. So those would be my top three. I could probably rattle off a whole bunch more, but hopefully that gives you a little insight into what I'm seeing.
Cool, thank you very much. So now I'm gonna move probably on to the most interesting for me personally question, because I remember a couple of years ago, I was in South Africa. I was taking this short course on community transformation. And that was the first time when I actually heard a notion, servant leadership, which for me was very, at that time, was something really new. And from my understanding, please correct me if I'm wrong, servant leadership concept is actually, it's a holistic concept that applies some sort of values or principles like transparency, people first. You mentioned on your before on your many interviews something like leading by example, or some sort of ethical standards. So to me, from my understanding, it would be so difficult to work by those standards, in your at your job, and not applying those values to your private life, right? So question here is, have you had any situation in your career where you had to reject, where you had to say no to a project, organization, company, whatsoever, just because simply it wasn't aligned with your own ethical standards or your ethical principles?
Yes, I won't dive into too many details about the company itself, but I did resign from a role where I was in a leadership position for well over a year, but their executive leadership team and I were not morally and philosophically aligned on customer success. They wanted us to execute some, I wouldn't say they weren't unethical, but motions that didn't feel organic and appropriate with customers in order to drive revenue up. And so I took the liberty of having a very tough conversation with their executives, and we agreed amicably that I would leave. But it was really tough. It was tough to have the conversation because I felt like I didn't want to come off as superior, right? Because that wasn't what this was about. We are just not aligned, right? How you view things and how you want to run your business are very different than how I view things and how I would run my business. And so, yeah, I've had to have those tough conversations and step down from roles, and that's okay. For me, it's like I'll always give it my best shot, but I'm not going to compromise who I am and what I believe is right for money. And that's what it comes down to.
I see. Could you tell maybe a little bit more about those differences of your philosophy and their philosophy? I mean, please feel free to say no if it's if I'm going too far. But I would just to feel a little bit of what was the issue,
to the extent that I can share, their belief was that customer success is just a growth engine in the sense that they didn't want us to do any of the customer success work. They didn't care about onboarding, adoption, engagement, relationships. They literally just wanted us to call into these companies and sell more product and drive unethical is the right word, just upsells and growth motions that weren't appropriate. I mean, we had customers that were completely at risk, not seeing value, high escalated states, very clearly talking about leaving to go to a competitor, and they wanted us to just call in and find somebody else to speak to and sell more product. And that isn't the role that I signed up for. Those weren't the conversations we had when I joined. That is not how I run customer success. That is not how you make a customer successful. And so we had really, really tough conversations when I said, no, I will not do that. No, my team will not do that. I've hired customer success professionals with decades of experience in doing this the right way. And if you want to do it your way, that is quite all right. This is your business. You are entitled to run it how you see fit. I cannot support that.
Fantastic. I see. So they put you in a situation where you actually had to take a position of a protector of clients' interest in this situation, although you were working in this company. That's
yeah. I mean, it's like, honestly, at the end of the day, it was do what they said, or that was not, this was no longer going to be an option for me. And I opted for, I'm not going to do that. And that's okay. And let's just part ways.
Wow. Well, big respect for you.
Yeah. Listen, not all decisions are easy ones, but for me, that one was very clear.
True that. And when you have those values, it's so much easier for you to take a step and to make this decision. Great. Could you tell me, please, when it comes to customer success, are there particular principles that you use on your daily life at your workspace that you can actually apply into your private and personal life as well? Something that you can, use both at work, at home.
And I probably learned how to be a better wife and a better mother and a better friend as a result of being in customer success. I'll be honest with you, it probably taught me how to be a better human because of learning how to do this in a business capacity. But I would say first thing, I probably have way better communication than I ever had before. Having tough conversations used to feel very cringy, right? Like, oh gosh, don't like conflict. Nobody likes that. And so being able to address conflict head on in a communicative, collaborative way is definitely something that I learned in customer success, especially as a leader. And then I'm able to translate that, right? Like, we don't yell in our house. We are very, we speak to one another. We always bring respect to conversations, even if we disagree. And so in our house, it's like, how do we address conflict, communicate about what's happening, and then come up with a resolution and then move forward on that. And so I would say that would be a big one. So conflict resolution, objection handling, probably big. Another one that I would say is trying to understand where everyone is coming from. So a little bit different than the first one, but we spend a lot of time trying to understand our customers' goals, right? Like, what is it that you're trying to achieve? Where are you today? How do you envision getting there? I apply that. I feel like in all conversations, again, with friends, family, and the like, it's really understanding in any conversation, where are they coming from? Trying to understand if my role is like, should I be listening? Are they asking me to listen? Are they asking me to lean in with advice? Are they asking me so I just process things differently. And I think more astutely in all conversations about what is it that the person I'm communicating with, what are they trying to achieve from this conversation? Which feels so formulaic, even when you're just talking with your mother or your spouse or whatever, but it allows me to wear a stronger listening cap than I ever did before. Maybe a better listener would be the second one. And third one, I would say I accept feedback probably better now than I ever did before, right? Like, if anyone told me, Chris, my favorite one, because everyone tells me this, speak slower. You're so smart. You have so much to say. Slow down. That's just one piece of feedback I receive daily. But I get lots of, my husband might say something like, hey, instead of leaving your wet towels on the hook, can you go just bring them downstairs to the laundry room? Or, can you rinse off your dishes before we put them in the dishwasher, right?
Right.
I would historically have been like, then you do the dishes, or you go take the be very defensive. Like, no, you want it that way, you go do it. Now it's like, yeah, you're right. I could do those things. You're right. Thank you so much. I will make a cognizant effort to rinse my dish or put the towel back where it needs to go. And even providing him that same feedback, right? Like how I give feedback is different as well. So I would say those are my three things. I would say communication, listening, and feedback.
Beautiful. And when you're applying that at your house, it's like you're getting the best reward they could possibly get, right?
It's made me a better person outside of work, and like I feel like I get better, like 1% better every day.
Beautiful. 1%, as you know, is a lot, right? It is a lot. Okay, so my very last question of our, let's say, main part. If you met a 10-year-old Kristi, what would you tell her?
Oh gosh, stop worrying what other people think. I have spent the bulk of my career professionally, and even like, teenage, college years, so consumed with how I was perceived in the eyes of others. I did not spend enough time seeing me for myself and appreciating me for who I am and supporting myself for being who I am and being unique and being different and being authentic. I look back and I'm like, wow, what a miss. I missed out on a lot of years of people really getting to see me for me. And now I am unapologetically me every single day, fast talking and all.
Beautiful. That's just precious. I guess that takes a lot of courage. Like you have to be brave to say everybody.
Yeah, and that's happen overnight, right? These are things I had to work on and think about and create my own safe space for me to feel like I could do these things. But at the end of the day, if someone doesn't like me for me, then that's not my problem, that's theirs.
True. Well, thank you very much. Well, thank you, Kristi. This is it for our main part. Let's move to our rapid fire round.
Okay.
Your biggest regret.
Oh gosh.
Let's start with the tough one.
Biggest regret. Jeez.
Yeah.
I try to live life with no regret. I try to not regret. Biggest regret. Probably never going abroad. I've been on Long Island in New York my whole life. This is where I've been born. I lived my whole life. When I was younger, when I was in college, when I was early 20s, I should have lived anywhere else. Another country, any country, pick a country. I think I missed out on getting cultural exposure into someplace else, learning a different language, just really adapting. And so if I could go back, my biggest regret would probably not spending a couple years abroad.
I see. That's important one. I guess you are still very young, so you have some.
I'm also very busy.
Hear that?
Even after my daughter goes to college, we'll see. If she goes abroad, maybe I'll follow her.
You're always welcome to come to visit us. We are in Poland, so
there you go.
Keep in mind. Please choose 1 hour in gym or 1 hour mentoring somebody on customer success.
I love the customer success community, but I'm going to be in the gym. Sorry, guys.
It's okay. 3 main qualities for outstanding CSM.
Strong communication, strong moral compass, and the ability to build deep relationships. I feel like those go a long way, and those are like the non-tangibles, right? Like you can learn a product, you can learn a space. So I would say that those are my 3.
Wow, very not obvious, I would say, to me. It's very, I would say, very, very deep rooted in your philosophy and your values. Thank you very much. The last one. What is the main driven power that makes you wake up at 4 a.m.? I repeat, at 4 a.m. every morning and make you go and get them?
I think it's just habitual at this point, but I would say it's my dedication to myself. I spend all of the hours of my day catering to everybody, right? Catering at work, to customers, to my team, to my bosses, to my husband, to my child, to my dog, to my mom. It's 1 hour a day, sometimes 2 hours a day that I get that are just mine. We don't bring phones into the gym. So it's literally, I just have the 1 hour dedicated to me. And I feel like that's my gift to myself. And so every day, that's my best way to start my day, is giving myself a gift. I feel very accomplished and it starts the day. So I would just say my commitment to me.
Beautiful. And this is, I guess, the reason why you're still, have those resources to give, because as you said, you're catering.
Yeah, you can't pour from an empty cup, they say, right? So I got to fill my cup.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Well, Kristi, that would be all from my side. Thank you very much for your time. I know that you don't take for granted any minute. You keep repeating that on your interviews, that you take your time very serious, and therefore even more I appreciate the 30 minutes that you devoted to us. Thank you very much for being our guest, and once again, thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. These were great questions. I hope everyone got a lot out of it.